Crime is on the rise in San Francisco, and there's people breaking into stores, cars in massive numbers. This has been a trend that's been going on for a while. Can you tell us what's happening now and how this came about?
Oh, sure. This didn't happen overnight. And definitely crime is up, no matter what our DA will tell you, and his office, and certain of his advocates who will say, oh, it's not down, this is all in your imagination. We've got the statistics that prove that this is that you're all sort of making this up. But no, crime is definitely up. Property crime is just through the roof. But yeah, this is something that has had a long history in San Francisco. It started a while ago, but it's continued. It continued to rise. During the pandemic, we saw some change, only because people weren't out and about. But we're looking at right now a massive spike in retail theft, shoplifting, car break-ins. We see mayhem on our streets. We've seen a rise in kind of some very peculiar types of crime. Things like people having their dogs stolen, right off of the leash sometimes. So it's at this stage, the word is out that you can come to San Francisco, you can take what you want, you can do what you want, and you will get away with it. There's really no consequences. It would be very, very tough in order to commit some kind of crime and find your way behind bars.
Have you ever witnessed one of these crimes? Because there's a lot of theft in San Francisco, the smash and grabs and people breaking into cars. Have you seen any yourself?
Absolutely. And I'm kind of smiling at this because my mother was in town for Thanksgiving. And in the 3 days that she was here, we saw somebody get a security guard for a news station. We were at an event, and he was shot in the back with a paintball gun. My mother witnessed that. She's like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? As we were coming back from the store the next day, we saw somebody's car get broken into. I think there was some other event that we watched within a 3-day period. I've been chased down the street by somebody with a knife.
Now, do the average people in San Francisco are feeling that? Is everybody concerned about crime now? Are they really watching out for their things, their belongings, as they're living their day-to-day life?
I'm sure there are a couple people who are in denial. There aren't very many. At this stage, it has permeated the entire area of San Francisco, from end to end, from side to side. Everybody feels it. Just about everybody feels it, which is why it's kind of comical to have to read or have to watch news reports that say it's not happening. So yes, everybody feels it, and not just people who live here, not just residents. You're also looking at people in the business community, small business, mid-sized business, large business, people, visitors. Everybody is impacted. It is at this stage impossible to hide it. It's too in your face. It's too apparent, and it's too scary.
If you're seeing them on the street, everybody else is seeing them on the street. So it's really impacting. It wasn't like this 10 years ago, right?
So what people feel most of all is physical, tangible issues. One is their kids, the other is their cars. When your car gets broken into time and time and time again, and people come to visit you and their car is broken into, you can't get away from it. It's happening. When their homes are being broken into constantly, right? Their stores are being broken into constantly, right? You can't get away from that. That's a reality, right? So that's really important. These are important truths that no amount of ridiculous reporting from City Hall is going to change. So that's something that we hold very dear. We see it, we feel it, we know it, we're affected by it. And that's just about everybody in the city, right? So this is something that's our launching pad This is what we don't want. Now let's go for what we do want, right? We don't want this anymore. We want to feel safe. We want to be proud. And that's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, which is civic pride. We want to be proud of our city. I used to be proud of San Francisco, and I would kind of puff up when I'd say, yeah, I'm from San Francisco. And I would feel really good about myself. I keep a poem that my daughter wrote about San Francisco that all the students wrote a poem about their city when they were in fourth grade. You know, these are things that we don't let go easily. And I'm not going to, and a lot of people aren't. We want to be proud. And we can be proud. So it's going to be up to us to push that through. We can do it. Of course we can do it. Things change. They always change.
And the numbers, so you mentioned the DA is saying the numbers are down, the crime is down. How does that work? Are the papers reporting that, or is the DA saying that?
Yes. So the DA, Chesa Boudin, who is now facing a recall, which is a huge, huge endeavor. And so just having that alone, it just shows how frustrated the community really is, because I believe the recall effort received over 30,000 extra signatures. That says a lot. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it does have to do with him and his office claiming that he has kept the city safe, and that he has created a safer community, which, again, I mean, this is now thoroughly mocked. Unfortunately, there is some complicit media in that message. You're looking at some in the San Francisco Chronicle, not everybody, but a few reporters who are tasked with doing what's called doing the data work, where I think they brought in a number of reporters to collect data and then to analyze it and then create these reports. And again, it's being met with kind of a mixture of horror and comedy, where people are just kind of shaking their heads going, where is this coming from? Because the numbers that they're citing doesn't match what people know to be true.
Now, you mentioned San Francisco has become a city where you can come from anywhere and do anything you want and get away with it, right? How did you guys get there?
I think part of it had to do with, in its latest incarnation, part of it had to do with a populace who was really not that engaged with city government. They were more than eager to elect people who sounded great on paper, right? Who loved that message, loved that social justice message. It sounded wonderful. Let's give homes to everybody. Let's not put people behind bars. Let's give them services instead. And it sounds wonderful, this sort of vision of utopia, right? It could be very intoxicating. Unfortunately, the result of that is not so good. Also, unfortunately, a lot of people who were behind these people who ran for office, they're gone. These are young, idealistic people who were in the tech industry. They're gone. They left. We now are being confronted with what they elected. So it's an interesting time right now. The people who are here either want to be or have to be. That's a very interesting population that we have here right now, right? So the people who didn't really care that much or had these sort of idealistic visions, they fled for the most part. And so now we're seeing massive change. Now we're seeing people who are very engaged. And it's exciting. So as bad as it is here, it's also a really exciting time, because I get contacted all the time by people saying, what can I do? How can I help? How engaged can I be? Who can I back? Who's going to run for Board of Supervisors? And there is a real kind of spark right now. So it's exciting. And I know a lot of people who are starting to think about dipping their toes into local politics, and they're good people.
You mentioned the district attorney. What about the mayor and the other leaders of San Francisco? Are they looking at this and they're saying this is okay, this is the status quo, this is how we are? Or are they looking and saying this is not working, we have to do something about it?
That's a great question. It really depends on the person. So, for example, London Breed, who is our mayor, There's something about London Brie that I find quite genuine. I believe that she wants a better city. I believe she loves San Francisco. Do not agree with everything that she's doing, but at least I think her heart is in the right place. That's a great start. And it's also vital